So why are we doing what we're doing? Great question. We'll go over why in this video. So the WIP, the WIP, the WIP, the WIP. Why are we doing this work in progress schedule? What does it mean? All that stuff. So in this example, we've got the bill to date on the contract, cost to date on the contract. Let's assume from January 1 to December year 1. Let's calculate gross profit on that job, assuming this is just the activity and there's nothing else. We're not factoring in contracts. We're just saying gross profit, whatever's hitting your income statement. That's 71%. You build out 17,000, you've got cost to date of 5,000, you're recognizing all of this 17,000 as revenue. Okay, so there's no WIP. That skews the information here. So what this is saying is you've billed more, so you're going to recognize this gross profit. What WIP does is it balances out your gross profit so you evenly recognize profit over the life of the job or the duration of the job. So over here, we've got the contract amount of 25,000 and the estimated cost of 11,000. The total gross profit on this job is 56%. What the WIP does is either pumps the brakes or puts the foot on the gas and saying, wait a second, in this example, without WIP, you're recognizing 71%. That doesn't make sense because the total you technically will recognize over the course of the job is 56%. So you're being a little aggressive here just because of timing. You build more in the current year than you had costs. So we're trying to cancel out all that timing nonsense. And we don't want to see this roller coaster of profit go up and down year to year just because of the timing of the activity. The WIP cancels all that timing activity out and says, I don't care how much you build. I'm interested in the costs incurred and the estimate to say, hey, 56% is the amount of gross profit you can recognize. So regardless of how much you build out, I'm going to carve out or add on more revenue to balance it. So in this case, instead of 71% gross profit, we're going to recognize 56. So what do we do to revenue? To decrease it, we debit it. And so here we debit revenue and we credit this overbillings. You're overbilling, you've billed ahead of where you should be, and that's a liability. So debit revenue, credit the liability, 5636. Well, let's do this example. Let's follow this. Let's see if this is all making sense. So imagine here, we subtract out this overbillings amount, and obviously we're going to cancel out the costs. And then we're going to, same thing here with the billing minus the overbilling because we want the total amount. Look at that. 56%. So when you carve out 5,636 from this bill to date of what you were originally recording as revenue, and you calculate gross profit, it balances out to 56. So you can see it's evening things out. That's the whole point of all this. And something similar can be said for the opposite, the underbillings. So let's get rid of this amount here and say we've billed $7,000. We'll keep the cost the same. Calculating gross profit just based off of bill to date, and the cost is 29%. Well, wait a second. Your P&L is going to be way skewed. We want to get to that 56% gross profit. Well, that's what underbillings does. It adds to your revenue. So you credit revenue and you debit underbillings. It's an asset. So that increases your revenue, which in our case, as we're calculating this, we're going to add 4,364 Then we're going to minus the cost. Then we're going to divide it by the bill to date plus the underbillings again. And what do we get? 56%. So you see, it's the same concept with the underbillings. It doesn't matter how much you've billed out by a certain time. It's all driven by cost and estimates, your total estimated gross profit. So this is just trying to cancel out timing issues. Otherwise, you'd be up really high one year, down really low the next, just based off of when you got around to billing. We don't want to do that. Not saying that profits don't gain or fade over the years, but we don't want it to be based off of the timing of our billing. So that is WIP in a nutshell. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next lesson.